Nangong Lingyun accidentally entered his own Douluo Kaiheng fan novel and obtained the life winner system set before his time traveling. As long as you complete the plot goals set in the outline, such as conquering beautiful women, increasing strength, and torturing the three masters of Tang, you can obtain the satisfying points, and the satisfying points can be almost done as you please. So, he set himself the ultimate attributes of a divine king-level special mutated martial soul, an ancient holy body, a chaotic holy soul, and an imperial beast space. The body martial soul uses the 70.2 transformations of the great sage as its soul technique, which is constantly changing, following the principles of heaven, earth, diamond's angry eyes, unifying all laws, Ayin, Lei Ming Yen Gu Teng, dark demon evil god tiger, De Ming Er Ming, yellow gold lion mastiff, dark gold fear claw bear, Yin Yang chaos bird, etc. Build the great Qian dynasty, unify Douluo, and ensure the prosperity of the world. Creating a judgment deity, suppressing the divine realm, only I can do it alone. I come, I see, I conquer. They are all There are already 700,000 words of exciting old book, my fellow author, plundering the heavens from Douluo. Chapter 1. The author wears a book. The Way to Death by Tang Shenwang at the beginning. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Douluo Continent, south of Notting City, Holy Soul Village. The late spring morning is still filled with a faint mist, giving people a chilly feeling. The slanting sunlight, however, is like a loving mother, gently embracing all things on the earth, bringing vitality and warmth to the new day. In a small wooden house, 8 or 9 children were arranged in a row with reserved faces. In front of them stood a very handsome young man in white strong attire. There is a fist-sized soul character embroidered in the center of the chest, and a black cloak behind it. In the upper left corner of the soul character, there is also a badge with 3 long swords intertwined. At the very end of the 9 children, Nangong Lingyun's expression was dull, and his heart was filled with doubts and doubts. What's the situation? I was typing on the keyboard the previous second. Was this dream a bit too sudden? Also, how does this person's attire feel a bit familiar? After a second of confusion, Nangong Lingyun instinctively scanned the surroundings. Soon, it was discovered that on a plaque above the young man's head, there was a prominent inscription of the Notting City Martial Soul Hall, Holy Soul Village Branch Hall, and several large characters covered in dust. Looking down again, I saw my little hands, little Geo, and little especially when it comes to the identity of the protagonist in the new book before his time traveling, the shameless author himself, coupled with the protagonist's way of traveling at the beginning, his brain becomes overly excited and suddenly dies. A careful and dirty heart suddenly jumped up uncontrollably. The expression may seem indifferent, but in reality, it has completely fallen into a state of confusion and disbelief. As an online author, I still write about Douluo Tong humanities. If we still don't realize what happened, our consciousness may be too late. But when the plot in the novel appears in reality, the extremely absurd plot of traveling through the world in the book, the huge sense of absurdity, even overwhelmed the surprise at one point. Nangong Lingyun quietly put down his hands and forcefully pinched his thigh from the side. Feeling the scorching pain and confirming that it was not delusional or some more realistic dream, in an instant, blood rushed wildly all over the body, rushing towards the sky, making the whole person feel a bit dizzy. There are countless thoughts and voices interweaving in my heart. People who have not experienced time travel do not know. When I suddenly realized that I had traveled through that feeling, it was really wonderful, and mysterious. It seems that in this moment, even the surrounding time and space suddenly slowed down, and consciousness entered some indescribable slow-firing bullet time frame by frame. All other sounds disappeared, leaving only the heart pounding fiercely, causing a slight pain in the entire chest. Crossing is already a great fortune. What made it even more difficult for Nangong Lingyun to suppress her excitement was that she even ventured into a new book by her fan Shuang, which she had created for herself and played the main role in, becoming the protagonist inside. You should know, this is a thoroughly enjoyable open-loop article, the whole journey is 1080 degrees Celsius without any dead corners, creating a refreshing and intense sensation that can never stop. Especially in the world of Douluo, although jokingly referred to by netizens as the world of hydrogen, the land of love brain, the floor tiles and even the sewers of the fantasy world. But for travelers, it is undoubtedly one of the best beginner villages. The difficulty is low, there are many beautiful women, the plot is simple, and the supporting role has his own aura of wisdom reduction. The most important thing is that he can live longer. If this were to be seen by the supreme masters of the forbidden area, they would probably curse out all the dirty language they have learned in their lifetime. Gulauzis, there is also a natural reason in wood, Pain. After a brief moment of unconsciousness, Nangong Lingyun immediately warned himself in his heart. Calm down, never be calm. In the fantasy world, you must never be seen by others, even if there is a slight abnormality. Noble readers and old men hate those foolish protagonists who are fussy and have never seen the world before. Moreover, writing novels and plotlines that break through the sky without making money or being scolded and thrown into the streets, once played poorly in the real world, will result in losing one's own life. Isn't it just time travel? Which year won't tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of new graves be added to the orphanage of a certain point, a certain Lu, or a certain Xia? What a normal thing. Under such thoughts, although Nangong Lingyun's heart was filled with waves of turbulence, but with strong self-control, people stood still in place and didn't move around. Lowering his eyes, his expression remained calm, and there was no abnormal sound coming from his mouth. He is not only an author, but also a seasoned bookworm. The protagonist is too brainless, lacks basic crisis awareness, talks to himself casually, goes crazy and exposes identity or confidential information. These are all major poison points that have been highlighted before. At this moment, there is only something unusual about oneself. Perhaps it was the little face that was full of heroic spirit and gave people a sense of vitality at a young age, which turned a little red. But faced with the awakening of the martial soul, which is about to determine one's lifelong destiny, nervousness, excitement, and anticipation are actually human emotions. Whether Su Yuntao was busy dealing with old Jack, or the other children waiting to awaken their martial souls, including the unworthy little rascal, they all didn't notice. After gradually controlling his emotions, Nangong Lingyun looked up again and looked around with a hint of curiosity. Excluding myself, there are a total of 8 children next to me, most of whom have strange expressions on their faces, either excited to the point of blushing, or nervous to the point of turning pale, and some even trembling all over. Obviously, even in this remote mountain village, they understand what the awakening of martial souls means to themselves. It is almost the only opportunity in life to cross social classes, become a noble and superior person. Among all the crowd, there is one child who stands out particularly. He was black and unadorned, wearing a linen garment that was not even patched, with large holes and stains all over it. My hair has not been combed or cleaned for an unknown amount of time, and it has condensed into a series of pieces, one after another, and one after another, interwoven and disordered like a pile of weeds. Especially the smell, it's like living in a pigsty all year round, emitting countless disgusting odors all over, and getting close is almost nauseating. The most crucial thing is still the expression and gaze, cold, indifferent, and aloof to the extreme, turn a blind eye to everything around and refuse people thousands of miles away. No need to ask, this is the famous Tang Buddha, the cold-blooded assassin who transformed purity into a derogatory term. Since his appearance, anyone who is praised for being pure and pure can instantly feel 10,000% nauseous, comparable to being scolded as a child. Upon seeing this scene, Nangong Lingyun immediately curled his lips and silently thought to himself. At this point, it is certain that others have already been charged with poverty and wealth, right? Then, the footsteps instinctively moved to the side, but the smell was a bit too unbearable. But his action made Tang San suddenly turn his head, and a hint of suppressed anger flashed in his eyes. Upon seeing this, Nangong Lingyun was taken aback and suddenly heard a funny voice in his heart. Shout, is this the way to be taken to death? TSK TSK TSK, truly deserving of being pure and pure, 999, it's simply 6 times over. If you're still writing a book, when you see this plot, readers can't help but say, pure bloodline, brothers, the author is extremely grateful for collecting, commenting, and voting on the new book. Chapter 2. External cheat to account, life winner system, I am the ultimate pleasure. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Nangong Lingyun has not just passed through, nor is it in the form of an attachment, his soul had already been reincarnated 6 years ago. Previously, he finally unraveled the mystery within the womb and awakened Su Hui from his past life. Some readers are not fond of occupying the body of others, so they have deliberately avoided this in the setting. Including the name, it is still called Nangong Lingyun. In order to increase the reader's sense of immersion, the appearance was briefly described in a few simple words in the outline: what kind of jade tree facing the wind, handsome and graceful, majestic and so on. If before crossing over, these adjectives can only be considered as some ordinary and rotten streets at most, they are almost being written and vomited by various online authors. But now, when everything in the book becomes reality, there is no doubt that it becomes a true portrayal of one's own image. Moreover, his handsomeness is not as feminine as that of a female canon, but it carries a strong masculine and heroic aura, without losing the boldness and carefree demeanor. If you can't imagine it, just compare it to the focal version of Erlang God, the man's dream, YYDS. Of course, besides being cute, 6 years old is not much that can be seen, and these can only be gradually realized as one grows up. After Nangong Lingyun began to awaken the previous life of Su Hui, the past of this life gradually merged into it. As the memories of 2 lifetimes continued to merge, he soon discovered some interesting things that were not described in the original work. These children in the village actually never despised Tang San at all. How many years old do children live in the same village, and no one is much more noble than each other? Can you understand what it is to dislike poverty and love wealth? On the contrary, most children even admire him. After all, this guy can do many things that ordinary people think are unbelievable, for example, having great strength, running very fast, and being able to climb the steep hill behind the village, and so on. Why do these peers ignore Tang San? Not only is the smell really unpleasant, also, in the past, when other children were looking for Tang San to play, they would be coldly ignored or given fierce glares every time. In the eyes of Bingqin Yujia, these children's backgrounds are too ordinary. It is highly likely that in the future, like their parents, they will only be able to become farmers without any value in making friends. Moreover, playing childish games and the like is purely a waste of time. It's better to forge hidden weapons or cultivate Xiantian Gong. Recalling the relevant pictures in his mind, Nangong Lingyun's mouth suddenly twitched slightly, a little powerless to roast. Tang San wants to work hard and strive for progress, which is actually no problem, including not wanting to have meaningless relationships. It is indeed a bit realistic, but in this society, who can achieve complete unrealistic, non-double standard, and non-profit seeking? Even saints cannot do it. But as time went by, when everyone found out that Xiao Wuzhen was unwilling to play games and no longer continued to look for him, unexpectedly, Bing Qinjiuji began to think that these children looked down upon him and labeled them as hating poverty in love for wealth. Define one's refined and selfish behavior as not being unwilling to be in the same world as others, but rather being looked down upon by others, remaining pure and innocent, only forced to be aloof. What? When I mark the question mark, it's not that I have a problem, but that I think you have a problem. This brain circuit is incredibly invincible. Nangong Lingyun was shocked on the spot for a whole year. In this scumbag's heart, no matter how much one ignores, or even drives away, nauseous, or teaches others, everyone else must always maintain enthusiasm, licking their faces every time to flatter and flatter you, otherwise there will be a way to die. But if I follow behind your butt every day and see your secret, I'm sure I'll also be labeled with another reason to take my life, right? I roughly scanned around and didn't notice anyone next to me noticing something unusual. Nangong Lingyun looked straight ahead with his remaining light. The blind-eyed king was reminding the little kids next to him not to be afraid no matter what he saw. I suddenly realized in my heart that there was not much time left for me. So he quickly silently called out in his heart. System. Atong. Tong Zi. Tong Gu. Jiao Chan big sister, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? The books he writes are almost all about cheating, from beginning to end, and even more enjoyable from beginning to end. This book is no exception. Just as the outline begins, the system word is clearly displayed on it. Just as the words fell in my heart, a very pleasant female voice rang out in my mind. Dear Master, I am here. The all-around auxiliary cultivation system and the intelligent Jiao Chan system are waiting for your call. Like eardrums killing chickens, the voice and tone are filled with a perfectly gentle, sweet, and seductive tone, mixed with a hint of playfulness and teasing. There is a feeling that involuntarily makes people's hearts ripple and their thoughts wander. However, upon hearing this voice, Nangong Lingyun did not have any unusual thoughts in his heart, but instead felt extremely grateful and ecstatic. The all-around auxiliary cultivation system, also known as the Life Big Winner system, as the name suggests, it can provide the host with all the help during the cultivation process. Martial soul, soul ring, soul technique, soul power, as well as soul bones, external soul bones, special soul bones, etc., are just the most basic. You can obtain various martial arts, immortal knights, and mystical world skills, secrets, treasures, as well as characters in divine beasts. In addition, it also has features such as point enhancement, scanning detection, intelligent inference, and system warehouse, virtual combat space, various skills replication and branding, and many other special functions. Even after paying a certain amount of system currency, one can DIY the desired features on their own. It is a dream romance deliberately created by someone for oneself. With it in place, the identity of this handsome male lead can be considered solid. Including Jiao Chan, it was also the artificial intelligence specifically designed by Nangong Lingyun for the system in the book. Having the ability to communicate normally with the host and assist in executing some uncomplicated commands, it even comes with an extremely large and extensive knowledge base that can answer questions. But it does not have emotions and wisdom, nor does it have the power to decide anything. In some novels, it is impossible for the protagonist to use coquettishness to lower the system's price or engage in various convenient and brainless plots. Well, that's also his poison point, instantly killing X and permanently blacklisting the author's big poison point. When the system has its own ideas and opinions, it can help you and provide you with backdoors. Does it not mean that you may also be influenced by it, or even manipulated or murdered? After hearing the appearance of the intelligent female voice, Nangong Lingyun couldn't even get excited in time, so he immediately recited again. Open the main quest. The cheat was designed by him himself, therefore, there is no need to specifically understand functions, mechanisms, permissions, operation methods, etc. At present, there is not much time left. After confirming that it is not much different from what was originally imagined, just start working on it. Chapter 3. Supreme Divine King Level Extreme Attribute Special Mutation Martial Soul of 3 Lives. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Nangong Lingyun's words had just fallen from her heart, a virtual screen that only he himself could see suddenly unfolded and appeared before his eyes. Classic maple leaf yellow eye protection, with a semi-transparent background, the size, proportion, distance, etc. are not far from the previous computer. The interface still has a slight curve, no matter where you look, the distance of the line of sight is the same, and the angle of illumination is completely vertical, making it look very comfortable. In the center position above the virtual screen, a row of 9 colored clerical script characters shines, main task, difficulty not yet selected. Below is a complete list of tasks waiting to be selected for difficulty. This is the original small design by Nangong Lingyun, and the main storyline is not fixed. The protagonist can choose according to their own wishes. According to the difficulty of tasks at different levels, the system will also provide different levels of beginner gift packages to support entrepreneurship. Highlight a thoughtful one. 1. Struggle is impossible. It is impossible to struggle in this lifetime. Goal. Become a soul saint and live to the end. Easy and difficult, limited to 50 years, the starting capital for rewards is any high-level martial soul you choose, plus innate level 6 soul power. 2. Intermittent struggle, long-term lying flat. Goal. Become a banned account and live to the end. Simple difficulty, limited to 100 years, the starting capital for rewards is any top-level martial soul you choose, plus innate 7th level soul power. 3. 3 days of fishing, 2 days of net drying. Goal. To become the limit and live to the end. Normal difficulty, limited to 300 years, with a reward starting from setting up any twin super martial soul and adding innate level 8 soul power. 4. 9 to 5, go with the flow. Goal. Become a deity and defeat the surface villain, referring to Tang Sanma. Advanced difficulty, limited to 600 years, with a reward starting from setting up any twin god level martial soul and adding innate 9th level soul power. 5. Life never ends, struggle never stops. Goal. Create your own deity and end the backstage villain, referring to the Shura God King. Super difficulty, limited to 1,000 years, reward starting capital is. Set any special variation, special attributes, and special characteristics of the Divine King level martial soul from any 3 beings, and add innate level 10 full soul power. Note 1. Other items can be purchased from the system mall, but martial souls can only be obtained by selecting the main quest. Note 2. According to the rules and underlying logic of Douluo world, all deities in the divine realm are subject to the dual limitations of their respective deities and the power limit of the first deity of that deity, which cannot be broken by special circumstances. The only exception is creating a divine position alone, which allows for unlimited power enhancement until it reaches the limit of the world it belongs to. Nangong Lingyun did not hesitate at all, not even browsing the text that appeared on the screen. At the moment when the previous command was issued, he immediately silently said. Choosing life is not just about striving endlessly, but also about creating a super difficult self-created divine position. If it were to be the real protagonist, at this point, he should naturally carefully read all the information, consider all factors comprehensively, and finally make careful decisions. But as the author, Nangong Lingyun knows very well that the foreshadowing and second design of many important supporting role of important plots have been planned in the outline. The highest Divine King level martial soul corresponding to the super difficulty level is equivalent to an important clearance item. And the outline is also set by oneself. Everything inside, including strength, lifespan, beauty, power, as well as mission objectives such as pretending to be coerced, abusing the third party, and changing the world, all of them were what he himself had longed for the most, and he just needed to develop step by step to get everything he wanted. There are no plans to change or optimize until there is a more perfect solution. Almost in the next second, in front of Nangong Lingyun, the virtual screen suddenly changed. All the text disappeared, and instead 3 30.2 paper-sized and proportional boxes appeared, arranged one character on the left, middle, and right. The all-around auxiliary cultivation system is not like the cheats in other Douluo novels. The martial soul can only passively draw or bestow, it gives you whatever it gives, and cannot be changed or exchanged. The host can customize according to their own wishes, beast martial soul, weapon martial soul, evil martial soul, ontology martial soul, as well as extraordinary divine beast martial soul, mutated martial soul, including twin martial soul, companion martial soul, special martial soul, and so on. Whatever you want, there is everything here. Of course, freedom is only within a limited range and cannot exceed the corresponding permission level. The system has extremely strict regulations on the abilities, strength, and special degree of different levels of martial souls. However, regarding his martial soul, Nangong Lingyun had already had a very detailed plan before crossing over: 3 martial soul positions, 2 main martial souls, representing one's own body and soul, and the remaining one is a special martial soul beast control space. Each one has been specially designed, absolutely extraordinary and possessing various incredible abilities. And the levels are the highest intensity allowed in the entire Douluo system worldview. The supernatural and special qualities it possesses have also reached the maximum limit allowed by the system for the highest divine king-level martial soul. As for Shuang, it means refreshing from beginning to end. Among them, the reasons for choosing the main body and martial soul in the first 2 positions are actually very simple. In one sentence, great power should belong to oneself. The system of martial souls and soul rings inherently has a significant flaw, that is, both strength and skills are forcibly added by hunting soul beasts, which not only lack self-awareness but also cannot be perfectly controlled. Only the physical martial soul can evade 1 or 2. In addition, according to the 2 designs specially added by Nangong Lingyun before crossing, there is a special saying between martial souls and soul masters, which is the degree of fit. The vast majority of soul masters are actually unable to fully unleash the true power of their martial souls. Only the compatibility between the physical martial soul and the transformed soul beast's martial soul can reach its full value, while the compatibility of 80% is already considered extremely high. As for the last martial soul, the beast control space, it is also because the abilities of the soul master system are too limited. Even with the title Douluo, there are only 9 soul rings. If you want to play more tricks, you can only think of this unconventional method. Nangong Lingyun took a deep breath and silently recalled the previously designed content in his mind. Not only is it to confirm whether the memory is clear and complete, but it is also another attempt to identify and fill in any gaps. Although the outline has just been completed, time travel is like something that happened just a second ago, but in the face of such an important thing, no matter how careful and cautious it is, it cannot be too much. After 2 consecutive checks without finding anything to correct, then he made a decision in his heart's words. Customize the first martial soul. The ancient holy body, also known as the indestructible golden body. Chapter 4. The body martial soul of the ancient holy body, possessing 10 ultimate properties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nangong Lingyun's voice couldn't stop in his heart. The ancient holy body has 5 ultimate attributes, namely ultimate life, ultimate chi and blood, ultimate strength, ultimate defense, and ultimate stability. Ultimate stability is an exclusive special attribute of the 9 dragon kings under the dragon god's command, specifically developed by the dragon god to balance his chaotic abilities and attributes. Do Sanzhong once had the evaluation that the dragon that crossed the mountain would always be king. In addition, the presentation of the body's martial soul defense ability can refer to the 4th soul skill of the original work Xiaowu, invincible golden body, but has changed from active to passive. In addition to its ultimate attributes, it also possesses the following 5 extreme levels of special variation characteristics. Special mutation feature 1. Complementary. 1. Can be used simultaneously with other martial souls of oneself, without conflict, and can develop self-martial soul fusion techniques. 2. You can use the soul rings and skills of your own other martial souls. 3. It can generate martial soul induction with almost all human soul masters and even transformed soul beasts, and can cultivate and develop corresponding martial soul fusion techniques, with a 100% compatibility. But whether or not to transmit martial soul induction to someone is entirely up to oneself to decide and control, and the object that does not want to be sensed will not discover any indestructible specificity of the golden body. Special mutation feature 2. Invincible body. 1. It can perfectly absorb, digest, and accommodate all nutrients and energy without any waste. This includes but is not limited to food, herbs, natural resources and treasures, as well as the devoured spiritual energy of heaven and earth. 2. collaborating with spiritual martial souls, one will be able to perfectly control all their own strength, energy, attributes, and abilities. 3. Every organ and every inch of flesh and blood in the Holy Communion is unique. As long as the strength is concentrated, its function can be temporarily and significantly strengthened based on the strength and amount of the concentrated force. By using this ability multiple times, it is possible to permanently retain some of the enhancement. For example, concentrating soul power on the eyes can increase vision. Similarly, the hearing of the ears, the smell of the nose, the taste of the mouth, the sound of the throat, the speed of the legs and feet, the strength of the muscles, and the defense of the skin. As well as the 5 organs, 6 viscera, blood, bones, acupoints, meridians, etc., all have corresponding special features, and can also be strengthened in similar ways, even developing new abilities. Special mutation characteristic 3. No invasion of evil spirits. The Holy Communion is known as the Holy Spirit, and its constitution, blood, and energy all have innate strong resistance to various evil forces. This includes but is not limited to immune toxins, resolving murderous chi, combating snatching and losing, and ignoring the influence of emotional abilities. Special mutation feature 4. Immortal spirit. When the attribute of life is strengthened to a certain extent, as long as there is a complete set of genetic information and a trace of spiritual memory that exists in the world, it can be infinitely resurrected. Special mutation feature 5. Holy See. When the martial soul is developed to a certain level, it can autonomously generate exclusive visions, allowing for easy cross-level battles, and the Eucharist vision also has a certain inhibitory and immune effect on the effects of other visions. As a fan fiction, this book has added many secondary elements in its setting and outline. Among them, there is a section about the martial soul, which is about the level of the martial soul. The original work only roughly divides all martial souls into 6 levels: low, intermediate, advanced, top. Level, super, and divine. Moreover, there has never been a detailed explanation of the special expressions or different aspects of each level of martial soul. I will tell you directly and roughly what level each type of martial soul has, without specific criteria for judgment. After summarizing the relevant information in the novel, Nangong Lingyun made up for this loophole without creating new conflicts. He not only divided the divine level martial soul into 2 levels, but also more finely divided them into. There are 5 levels. God level, divine officer and God hunter, auxiliary God level, 3rd level God and 2nd level God, main God level, 1st level God, God King level, and supreme God King level. And it is also stipulated that the strength levels of the strongest attributes or characteristics of the martial soul, from low to super, are the 5 levels. There is no abnormality, it is a useless martial soul, and one of the ultimate attributes or extreme characteristics is a super martial soul. The evaluation criteria from the subordinate God level to the highest God King level are the number of ultimate attributes and extreme characteristics possessed. The divine level has both an ultimate attribute and an extreme level characteristic, while the auxiliary divine level has 2 types each, and so on. For example, the 6-winged angel at the level of the main deity possesses 3 ultimate attributes: divine, flame, and light. It has 3 ultimate characteristics: angel judgment, holy light purification, soul power suppression, and domain dispelling. As the highest divine king level, the ancient holy body possesses 5 ultimate attributes and 5 ultimate characteristics. Moreover, both attributes and characteristics are extremely unique and not ordinary categories. Without much time to think, after quickly describing one's own requirements according to the relevant content set in memory, Nangong Lingyun immediately carefully checked the text displayed on the virtual screen. As a graduate of the mathematics department, his personality is quite cautious. With such a crucial thing, if there is a mistake in his mouth due to carelessness, it will be a lot of fun. Fortunately, the most concerning issue did not arise. Always immersed in one's own world, time passes quickly outside. When Nangong Lingyun's thoughts relaxed, the 8 children in front of him, including Tang San's awakening of martial souls, had already ended and left. Su Yuntao furrowed his eyebrows and kept swinging his hand in front of him, shouting. "Hello, kid. That kid. It's your turn, stand in the center of the formation quickly." Nangong Lingyun knows that his martial soul does not actually need to be awakened, and the system will take care of everything. At this level of martial soul, even a great soul master has no ability to awaken. But he still took a long breath, made a resolute appearance, walked into the center of the awakening formation, and waited quietly. Tauge didn't feel any difference, just like the previous process. He casually tapped out 6 soul powers, illuminating the 6 black stones that served as the foundation of the formation. In the next moment, as Nangong Lingyun silently summoned the martial soul possession, an incredibly rich golden light suddenly bloomed from within and attached and surrounded him, illuminating the entire person and everything around him with a golden radiance. Other attributes are relatively introverted, but the vast pressure of qi and blood, as well as the rich breath of life, emanated clearly and undoubtedly. Su Yuntao's green wolf eyes lit up as he half opened his mouth, expressing shock and excitement. After a full 2 seconds, Nangong Lingyun had already cancelled his martial soul possession before quickly exclaiming excitedly. "Child, you are a powerful martial soul. Hurry up and test your soul power." As soon as these words were spoken, Nangong Lingyun's heart immediately shook. Chapter 5. Tauge defeats with a void, one more divine realm, divine level buff added. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Sleeping Trough. Brother Tao actually praises my powerful martial soul. Isn't that enough? You should know that although Su Yuntao's soul power is only level 26, he has awakened his martial souls to countless divine kings in the heavens and realms, and judged them as abandoned martial souls, but he is revered by readers as the blind Douluo and the king of blind eyes. He has traveled through the comments section of the previous book, and even some have called him the blind emperor. Nangong Lingyun was still stunned when Su Yuntao's excited and trembling voice rang out once again. Surprisingly, he has another innate soul power. With such a talent, there is definitely a chance of becoming a title in the future. Child, do you want to join the Martial Soul Hall? With your Martial Soul qualifications, you will definitely be sent directly to the Soul Master Academy directly affiliated with the Martial Soul Hall in the Martial Soul City to study. There are a large number of Soul Saints and Soul Douluo as teachers there, and perhaps even title-level powerhouses will develop an interest in accepting apprentices this time. The Lingyun people of Nangong were completely numb. After becoming powerful in martial soul, he was once again judged by the blind emperor to have an achievement title. Is there still a way for him to survive in the future? However, in the next moment, his eyes rolled around with a gurgling sound, with a pitiful expression on his face, he stubbornly said. Brother Tao, can you say that I am a useless martial soul? As for children, being cute is a must-kill skill. He has always had a flexible bottom line in his life and has no psychological resistance to such things. Handsome yet not breaking the law. However, it seems that Tauge did not understand Nangong Lingyun's intention. My head shook like a tambourine. No, listen to me, child. Although the martial soul looks a bit strange to oneself, there is no description of similar situations in the Martial Soul Guidebook, but your martial soul has a strong aura, and even without attaching a soul ring, it completely suppresses me who already has 2 soul rings at level 26. With such intensity, as long as you have a little soul power, you can cultivate it. Besides, you are still born with full soul power, which is rare to see in 100 years. Based on my previous perception, there is great potential for both strength and life attributes, and it is definitely not a useless martial soul. Got it, selling cuteness failed. Without receiving Tao Ge's blessings, Nangong Lingyun did not feel much disappointed. Turning to the previous question, he said. I'm still too young now. Can I wait until I grow up to consider joining the Martial Soul Hall? Upon hearing these words, Su Yuntao's eyes immediately showed a hint of surprise and disappointment. The reward for discovering and successfully attracting a top-level martial soul with innate soul power is very generous. With such achievements in hand, as long as one's cultivation can further improve in the future, there is still hope to become the temple master. At that time, I believe his goddess will also agree to pursue it, right? However, even though Su Yuntao was so eager in his heart, he did not force himself too much, but his expression was a bit regretful. After being persuaded not to move, put away your belongings and leave. However, as he approached the door and was about to push it open, he suddenly froze in thought. Don't want to join the martial soul hall. Although the martial soul is very powerful, do you insist on calling yourself a useless martial soul? Between these two, after a moment, Brother Tao slowly turned his head and squatted down. With surprised eyes, he looked straight at Nangong Lingyun and said, "Child, what's your name?" "Lingyun, Nangong Lingyun." "Nangong, a rare surname, Zai Lingyun. I will write it in the report to the martial soul hall and also tell others that you have awakened a kind of useless martial soul. Your talent is so strong, and you are so smart and alert at a young age. Uncle believes that you will grow into a powerful soul master in the future." Nangong Lingyun was momentarily stunned upon hearing these words. Taoga's understanding seems to be a bit problematic. But soon, a hint of emotion surged in my heart. If the truth were reported to the higher-ups, Su Yuntao's benefits would definitely not be lacking, but after knowing that he did not want to join the martial soul hall, he still chose to help conceal it. Immediately, he secretly made up his mind and said, "In the words of a book enthusiast, Brother Tao has broadened the road. When there is a chance in the future, he can easily carry it with him." Also, with a discard sound from Brother Tao, there is one more person in the divine realm. Has this buff been added now? After Su Yuntao finished speaking, he smiled and stood up again, turning his head and walking outside. Outside the door, old Jack didn't know what was happening inside. Seeing Su Yuntao come out, he immediately welcomed him with a nervous expression on his face. "Master, how is the situation? Have any children in the village become soul masters this year?" "There are two, both of which have innate full soul power. Unfortunately, one martial soul is blue silver grass, and the other martial soul is oneself, both of which are famous abandoned martial souls." "The innate full soul power of the abandoned martial soul. Oh my goodness." Upon hearing this, old Jack frowned tightly and his face instantly turned extremely regretful. He has been a village chief for so many years, and his knowledge is much higher than that of ordinary villagers. I naturally understand what innate soul power represents. No need for cultivation. As long as you obtain a soul ring, you can become a soul master directly. In the future, you may also become a soul saint, soul Douluo, or even a title. But this rare talent appeared on the abandoned martial soul, and as soon as it appeared, there were only two. It was really a kind of manipulation. Su Yuntao's task was heavy, and he didn't chat with old Jack much. After explaining it for a while, he left straight away. Later, Nangong Lingyun came out of the wooden house and respectfully called out, "Grandpa Jack." His background in this life is also that of an orphan, and the adopter is the old Jack village chief in front of him. Because even white-eyed wolves like Tang San often offer help, coupled with angrily scolding Haotian Douluo in person and even cursing the other person to the point where they can't even speak, in Douluo fan fiction, he is almost on par with Wang Tao, who has blind eyes. Upon hearing the voice of Nangong Lingyun, old Jack hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking in surprise, "Xiao Yun, are you one of the two innate and soul-full useless martial souls that the master mentioned?" "Not bad, the martial soul is for oneself, the other person is Tang San, and his martial soul is blue silver grass." Old Jack's mouth wriggled several times, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he just let out a deep sigh. "Xiao Yun, you should go home by yourself first, and I will send Tang San back." Faced with such a big event as the awakening of the martial soul, the parents of other children were waiting at the door early on, only Tang Hao was still drunk and had to be taken care of by the village chief, Old Jack. Nangong Lingyun knows what will happen next, the classic scene. Remember, in your future, be sure to protect the grass on your right hand with the hammer of your left hand, is about to unfold. But he had no interest in witnessing, and immediately nodded in agreement. Good, there are still 2 other martial souls in the system that have not yet awakened, which is the big concern for oneself. Chapter 6. Second Martial Soul Chaos Holy Spirit, Third Martial Soul Beast Control Space. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Old Jack's house is behind this small wooden house in the Martial Soul Hall. Nangong Lingyun just took a few steps forward, turned around the corner of the wooden house, and saw a tall wooden door. As the village chief, this house is quite respectable in Holy Soul Village. Because the rural land is not valuable, more than 2 acres of land have been enclosed inside, almost equivalent to a small estate. It is divided into 2 courtyards, with people living in the front yard and a large area of fruits and vegetables planted, while some livestock are raised in the backyard. Nangong Lingyun ran a few steps over, pushed open the door, and shouted inside. Auntie. In the vegetable field, a woman carrying a basket immediately lifted her head and asked with a smile. Lu Er has returned, how about it? Have you awakened your soul power? The people of Old Jack's family are quite prosperous, with 2 sons and 1 daughter, and 9 grandchildren. Although Nangong Lingyun is adopted, he also ranks 6th among them. A large family gathered in the same courtyard, and their daily life was very lively. And the one he called aunt was the eldest daughter. Law, who didn't look particularly stunning, but cooked a good dish. Awakened, still full of innate soul power. Oh my goodness. As soon as Nangong Lingyun finished speaking, the woman was so shocked that she even dropped her vegetable basket on the ground. In the next moment, he even raised his throat and shouted loudly. Second and third, come and see, Luer has awakened her innate full soul power. Excitement overflows beyond words. In Douluo continent, once you awaken your soul power, it means you are about to become a human being and a noble soul master. And there is a huge gap between soul masters and ordinary civilians, completely located in 2 worlds. The gap between wealthy and poor people in previous lives is even more terrifying and blatant. Not only in terms of identity, status, reputation, and wealth, but more importantly, they also possess power. By the time Old Jack returned, the entire yard was already bustling with chickens and dogs. Literal meaning of chicken flying and dog jumping, 3 strong men were grinding their knives vigorously while holding onto a large fat pig. Women were deftly ironing and pulling chicken feathers, while the big yellow dog was huddled in a corner trembling and not daring to move. The lively scene continued until evening. Nangong Lingyun finally took the time to set up his other 2 martial souls after his stomach was boiling and he couldn't eat it anymore. A small wooden house with a small space but relatively cozy layout, he pretended to be lying in bed sleeping, but in his heart he called out to the virtual screen and silently said. Customized Second Martial Soul. Ontological Martial Soul Chaos Holy Spirit, also known as Immortal Golden Soul. The previous First Martial Soul, the Ancient Holy Body, was named after a special physique in a famous novel from a previous life, which can be considered as a touch of the light of a big shot. But in terms of soul and spirit, he searched his heart and soul for a long time, but didn't think of any more fitting names, so he casually named the Chaos Holy Spirit. However, no matter what the name is, attributes and strength will not change. After a moment of contemplation, Nangong Lingyun continued to secretly say. The Chaos Holy Spirit also possesses 5 ultimate attributes and 5 ultimate characteristics. Among them, attributes include ultimate spirit, ultimate darkness, ultimate time, ultimate death, and ultimate emotion. The characteristics are as follows. Special Mutation Feature 1. Complementary. 1. Can be used simultaneously with other martial souls of oneself, without conflict, and can develop self-martial soul fusion techniques. 2. you can use the soul rings and skills of your own other martial souls. 3. It can generate martial soul induction with almost all human soul masters and even transformed soul beasts, and can cultivate and develop corresponding martial soul fusion techniques, with a 100% compatibility. But whether or not to transmit martial soul induction to someone is entirely up to oneself to decide and control, and the object that does not want to be sensed will not discover any indestructible specificity of the golden body. Special Mutation Feature 2. Absolute Insight. 1. Ignoring and exempting all other mental control skills such as charm, suppression, mind reading, illusions, emotions, darkness, etc. Based on the difference in mental strength between the two sides, significantly weaken the enemy's mental attack and defense effects. 2. Has extremely strong perception, discrimination, perspective, and detection abilities. 3. After being possessed by a martial soul, it will be immune to all physical attacks. 4. It can eliminate all enemy boosting abilities, including but not limited to boosting soul skills, special states, and auxiliary martial souls. Special Mutation Characteristic 3. Fate Interference. Not influenced by the power of fate, when spiritual attributes are strengthened to a certain extent, they can also have a reverse impact on the fate of others. Special Mutation Feature 4. Undead Control Undead Plane. The additional ability born from the combination of Ultimate Spirit, Ultimate Death, and Ultimate Darkness attributes has strong control over the undead. Naturally, it comes with a spiritual plane that can only accommodate the undead, and is connected to the real world through the gates of hell. Entering this plane can increase the growth and recovery speed of the undead. Special Mutation Feature 5. Holy Spirit Fantasy. When the martial soul is developed to a certain level, it can autonomously generate exclusive visions, allowing for easy cross-level battles, and the Holy Spirit's vision also has a certain restraining and immune effect on other vision effects after careful examination and confirmation. As usual, the second martial soul Chaos Holy Spirit was born. Nangong Lingyun did not delay, and after a slight understanding and appreciation, continued to set in his heart. Customized Third Martial Soul. Beast Control Space. Having 5 major attributes. Ultimate Space, Ultimate Energy, Ultimate Destruction, Ultimate Attack, and Ultimate Element. In addition, there are 5 major characteristics. Complementary, Mysterious Divine Weapons, Infinite Evolution, Devouring the Sky and Devouring the Earth, and Telepathy. Among them, Divine Weapon Xuanqi refers to the fact that each type of pet beast contracted by the Imperial Beast Space can be transformed into a divine weapon for use by the Imperial Beast Master. For example, in mythology, the weapon of Yang Jian, the god of Erlang, is a 3-pointed, 2-edged sword that is transformed from a 3-headed divine dragon. Infinite Evolution. Pet beasts contracted by the Imperial Beast Space will not only significantly accelerate their growth rate, but also continuously break through the limitations of their own race and bloodline, achieving leapfrog growth. Swallowing the heavens and devouring the earth. The beast space can crazily devour and transform external energy, and even the power of cosmic chaos, for the recovery, growth, and evolution of beasts and beast masters. Telepathy. After reaching the soul contract, there can be spiritual resonance between the beast master and the beast. In battle, one can understand the opponent's intentions without the need for words, and the degree of cooperation is 100% tacit. Looking at the virtual screen, the third grid was also occupied, and Nangong Lingyun suddenly breathed a long sigh of relief. These 3 great martial souls were conceived after racking their brains before crossing over. Each one has a special purpose and can perfectly complement each other. With them, the seemingly difficult goal has already been halfway achieved. After a moment, a brilliant smile suddenly appeared on the corner of Nangong Lingyun's mouth. With great pride in his heart, he said, "Douluo, I'm here. Tang San, prisoner's anal, sure a god, the Lord is here. Ah in, Zhu Zhu Qing, Qianren Xue, I'm here." Chapter 7. System tasks are once the most YY fantasy, what is Shuang? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, Nangong Lingyun woke up early and slowly ran along the outskirts of Holy Soul Village. On the other side, the system interface was opened and the above functions were studied. Although the content was all set by oneself, based on the main task selection and customization of the three martial souls mentioned earlier, no errors were found. But with a rigorous style, it's better to confirm once. Moreover, he himself is curious about what exactly it looks like inside. With the slight movement of Nangong Lingyun's mind, the virtual screen suddenly unfolded in response. The maple leaf yellow eye protection color is similar to the interface of previous coding software, and some behind scenes can be vaguely seen on a semi-transparent background. There are 4 huge icons arranged in a single character pattern in the center, and each icon also displays 2 magnificent seal script characters. Tasks, functions, cultivation, special. Among them, tasks refer to the plot goals set in the outline before crossing, and are also divided into 4 types: strength growth, female protagonist conquest, bullying villains, power, wealth, fame, and fortune. Each one corresponds to someone's most fulfilling dream in the past, or more accurately, it should be called a fantasy. What awakens the power of the world, lies drunk on the knees of beautiful women, is invincible in the world, immortal, and does as one pleases, doing whatever one pleases. The growth of strength and the conquest of the female protagonist are very simple, which means that for every level of soul power increase and every time a beautiful girl is attracted, according to the corresponding soul power level and the beauty level of the girl, the system will reward her with corresponding pleasure points. The names of the currencies used in different systems also vary: what attribute points, plot points, experience points, destiny points, etc., and why not use real currency such as gold. The life big winner system of Nangong Lingyun is called Shuangdian. In the professional terminology of online writers, Shuangdian refers to a place or plot that can stimulate readers to generate positive emotions such as satisfaction, excitement, sweetness, and passion. It can be considered a little bit of his personal evil taste. Among the remaining 2, the most satisfying aspect of Douluo Tong's culture is that of the antagonists who exploit them, with almost none of them. Tang San and Jian Xiaogan, these 2 hypocrites, have looked around the entire online literary world, and their disgusting level can be considered as the only scorpion cake. Many people admire even dangerous individuals like Fang Yuan, the Gu Immortal. At least they are wicked and upright. However, they were able to attract over 90% of the disgust of their fellow readers, and the remaining 10% were likely to only watch adapted and beautified comics and animations. It has to be said that in a sense, this is also an unprecedented special achievement. Similarly, there are different amounts of rewards for satisfying Tang Sanjian's small anus according to the severity of the torture. The last item, power, wealth, fame and fortune, is a collection of minor details such as power, wealth, reputation, and status. There will be some rewards for each harvest. However, in the fantasy world, strength is the foundation of everything, and these are relatively not as abundant. Its ultimate goal is to create one's own power, unify Douluo and suppress the divine realm. The second section of the all-around auxiliary cultivation system. Functions, which have been introduced earlier: scanning detection, intelligent deduction, system warehouse, endless shopping mall. The other 3 are all easy to understand. Intelligent deduction is used to attempt to create techniques, simulate the growth effect of martial souls after attaching different soul rings, and deduce the plot changes caused by different behaviors. The popular emulator streaming novel Cheat in the past few years has been integrated into one of the functions of Nangong Lingyun's own system. The third major section is cultivation. The 4 subordinate functions are all related to the growth of cultivation and combat power, namely point enhancement, bone strengthening skills, virtual space, and replication optimization. Among them, the Huan Guli technique refers to soul rings, soul bones, soul power, and soul skills. You can customize your martial soul like before, consume the corresponding amount of coolness points, and set your own desired soul rings, soul bones, and soul skills. Nangong Lingyun felt that Sun Dasheng's 70.2 transformations were a bit good. When the time came, he would come up with a set of methods such as the heavens, earth, 3 heads, 6 arms, and mediation. That feeling, isn't it more powerful than blue silver winding around cows? Well, it's a bit insulting to compare the 70.2 transformations with the entanglement of one's own mother. Great sage, forgive me. In addition, virtual spaces are specifically designed for training combat skills and can be accessed through conscious bodies to engage in battles with virtual enemies. Injury, death, etc. will not affect the reality of our true self. There is also replication optimization, as the name suggests, which means 4 words. Bring it to you, you can copy other people's skills and optimize them. The last section of the system. Special, is the DIY area. If you suddenly think of a function that has not been set before, you can manually DIY it yourself. For example, Douluo has become uninteresting and wants to travel through other worlds again. After browsing for a few minutes, Nangong Lingyun turned off the virtual screen and focused on running. As the essence of martial soul, exercising the body is also equivalent to practicing martial soul. I don't know if it's because of the uniqueness of the body's martial soul, and the extraordinary attributes of life, power, and chi and blood are indeed too extraordinary, people still feel refreshed during happy events, stimulated by the dreamy opening of time travel, cheating, and adding to the high-level Divine King Level 3 life martial soul. Nangong Lingyun felt as if an inexhaustible force was surging within him. I originally planned to jog and warm up, but as I ran, I unconsciously accelerated my pace and sprinted forward with great strides. Blood was surging wildly, panting heavily in the mouth, but there was not much fatigue. Instead, there was a feeling of exhilaration. After more than an hour of listening to my stomach growling, I finally stopped unsatisfied. When she returned to old Jack's house, Aunt Chun had already prepared breakfast. Yesterday, I killed 2 chickens and killed a pig. There was still a lot of food left. I steamed it in a pot again and added white and soft mantou with big hair noodles. I almost swallowed my tongue. After finishing his meal, Nangong Lingyun nestled himself on the sofa. Then I reopened the virtual screen and looked at the enviable magical functions on it, along with the dazzling big change after the word cool. I silently pondered on my future plans. According to the standard configuration of Douluo and the humanistic protagonist, he still lacks a cultivation technique. Unlike soul bones, the earlier you get this thing, the better. It would be best to have another guardian. The threat from Tang Mutation cannot be ignored. Heaven knows when he will have a sudden impulse and feel that he is a bit in the way, so he quietly comes to give a blow. Placing one's own life in someone else's thoughts can be quite uncomfortable. If it weren't for an old rabbit at Notting College, as one of the opportunities between a beautiful woman and the original work Tang San, there must be a lot of exciting points to explore on her body. Nangong Lingyun is a bit eager to grab a bucket and run away. Fortunately, both the cultivation techniques and the guardians of the path can be easily handled in the system mall, but there are not enough exciting points. Furthermore, according to the information in the novel, Notting College is still 3 months away from its start. He needs to complete the first soul ring as soon as possible. Chapter 8. Take the chestnut out of the fire, prepare to steal Tang San his mother, Blue Silver Emperor. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. There are a total of 3 martial souls, including the ancient sacred body, the Chaos Holy Spirit, and the Royal Beast Space. Among them, for the 2 main martial souls of the flesh and soul, Nangong Lingyun does not intend to absorb soul rings by hunting soul beasts. The highest Divine King level martial soul, there are not many soul beasts that can match, not to mention, it is still difficult to hunt, and the output of soul skills cannot be guaranteed. Besides, driving such a large cheat is not for decoration. Isn't it comfortable to directly match the system perfectly? But it's still that problem. Enabling system functions requires enough excitement, and now he's clean in his pockets and face. After thinking for a while, Nangong Lingyun made a decision in his heart. Around the Holy Soul Village, there exists a beautiful beast that can ruthlessly pit 3, produce a large amount of excitement, and is also suitable as the first tenant of the Imperial Beast space. Blue Silver Emperor, Ah-in. As the mother of the protagonist in the original work, she will become the life core of the Douluo plane in the future, a second-level deity, and a 100,000-year-old soul bone next to her. The value of Pit 3 that Ah-in can bring is definitely not low. And the martial soul, which was pure with only 50% of its bloodline, was repeatedly ravaged and destroyed by the prison anus into that state. Despite absorbing poison-type animal soul rings with mutually exclusive attributes multiple times, they were still able to autonomously spawn in the future. The potential of Blue Silver Emperor is definitely very impressive. In addition, there is another aspect that makes Nangong Lingyun extremely tempted, that is, although Cao Cao has already died, the thief Cao has never passed away. Our heroes, we should continue the legacy of the Prime Minister and strive to carry it forward. His idols are characters such as Chao Mengde, Duan Jingchun, Shimen Qing, Wei Xiaobao, Su Qianan, and so on. Thinking of this, Nangong Lingyun suddenly curled his lips slightly and chuckled to himself. Third child, your mother is very useful, mouse. Your wife is also great, but soon she will be mine. Jie jie, jie jie. The next morning, Nangong Lingyun continued to go for a run. However, compared to the previous day's simple lap running, the scope of this event began to expand and extended far beyond the village. And when they run to a new place they haven't been to before, their eyes will pretend to be casual and look around in all directions. He takes the Holy Soul Village as the center and divides it into 4 main routes: southeast, northwest, and northwest. On average, he explores one direction every 2 to 3 days. At the same time, in my spare time, I am actively becoming proficient in my own martial soul abilities, especially the spatial attributes of the beast guarding martial soul. To be honest, the Supreme Divine King level martial soul is truly extraordinary. Teleportation, even in formal soul skills or soul bone skills, can be considered a top-notch special ability. With the bonus of ultimate space, it quickly becomes mastered without a teacher. And the distance that can be moved is quite short. It is only 10 levels of soul power now, and the maximum can be transferred out of a kilometer at once. You should know that the teleportation distance of the protagonist group Xiaowu in the original work is only a pitiful 5 meters, which already makes her quite agile in combat. Kilometer-level teleportation, no, such a large span should be called spatial transfer. Facing many opponents, one can naturally stand undefeated. I can't fight, can't I still run away? The characteristics of the Blue-Silver Emperor's hiding place are too obvious. Nangong Lingyun aimed at the surrounding mountains, surveying one by one from near to far. Finally, on the morning of the 6th day, I encountered a small river with an extremely fast flow rate on the way. He traced his way up the river and soon, surrounded by mountains, accurately found the magnificent waterfall described in the novel. However, even though the location had been confirmed, Nangong Lingyun only glanced from a distance and then turned back without hesitation. There is currently no capital to compete with Tang Dahui, so be careful in everything. No matter how small the chance is, when a coincidence occurs, it will become 100%, and he is a steady person. 3 days later, as Nangong Lingyun ran past the entrance of Tang San's house, his keen senses smelled a lot of strong alcohol. I suddenly knew in my heart that the foolproof opportunity had finally arrived. Continuing to run forward at the original speed for about 5 kilometers, it is estimated that the mouse should no longer be paying attention to itself. Nangong Lingyun immediately gathered a small amount of soul power on his legs, activating the speed attribute of his own martial soul. The whole body almost turned into a remnant and quickly swept forward. Although the setting only includes 5 attributes: life, chi and blood, strength, defense, and stability, the focus here is only on the ultimate attributes. In fact, its abilities in other aspects are not weaker than those of top-level, super, or even ordinary divine-level martial souls with corresponding specialties. If it were to explode with all its might, it could be faster than now, but that would consume too much soul power and not be necessary. At twice the speed, in less than 20 minutes, the towering mountain peak, which was almost 90 degrees vertical, reappeared in view. A huge waterfall with a height of over 200 meters, wildly unleashing its impact and rushing down, creating a deafening roar and howling sound. Nangong Lingyun immediately removed all his clothes from his body and transferred them to the beast control space, only changing into a new pair of shoes under his feet. This is to avoid getting contaminated with any unique odor in the vicinity. I ran forward for a while again, and when I approached a certain distance, directly activate the spatial ability to transfer oneself from below to the top of the mountain peak. He had no intention of entering through the secret door behind the waterfall like a mouse. Although there is nothing like formations or prohibitions in Douluo's worldview, but as for the means of being banned, one should try to be as cautious as possible. Perhaps a slight abnormal breath, smell, trace, or any mysterious feeling will expose oneself. As the saying goes, to take a chestnut out of a fire, only with caution can one sail a ship for thousands of years. Moreover, with the convenient ability of space, he can easily find a simpler and safer way to approach. The goal of Nangong Lingyun, it is the stone hole that Tang Yuetian drilled out to absorb sunlight for his wife, as clearly described in the original work. After landing steadily on a reef in the water, Nangong Lingyun quickly withdrew his soul power from his leg and instead possessed the Chaos Holy Spirit. The ultimate characteristic of absolute insight, combined with the exclusive spiritual detection ability of spiritual martial souls, let him instantly grasp all the situations within 100 meters around him. Even if it's just an ordinary grass at the bottom of the water, or a bug hidden in the cracks of the soil on the shore, including their appearance washed away by the water flow and their slightly swaying antennae, all of them are clearly visible. I scanned and didn't find anything else worth noting nearby. Nangong Lingyun immediately focused his spiritual thoughts into a line, extending his vision far ahead. Chapter 9. Successful Contract. Ayin, gentle beauty should be my own. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The summit is not a flat area, but rather like a pile of giant stones, with one protrusion after another of different sizes and shapes distributed. In order to avoid the cave being submerged by the river, it is obvious that the stone hole cannot be opened in a low depression. Nangong Lingyun aimed at those protrusions and focused his detection field of view one by one. A few moments later, my eyes suddenly lit up and my heart was filled with a burst of ecstasy. Ha! I found it. I saw it on the right side of the river, about 150 meters away from me, above the largest and relatively flat and round protrusion in the vicinity. A small hole about the size of a baby's arm appeared prominently in the center. The field of view is descending along the hole, and a slender blue-silver grass is swaying slightly in it. It looks much more extraordinary than ordinary blue-silver grass. The surface has a certain obvious sense of glass and jade, unlike plants, but more like it is carved from a whole piece of high-quality sapphire. Especially, there are mysterious golden lines distributed on the grass leaves and branches, which are undoubtedly the blue-silver emperor. Nangong Lingyun sensed it carefully. I found that the breath of life inside was already quite faint, like a dim candle with only a faint spark left, which could be extinguished at any moment. Even many lush century-old plant soul beasts with similar attributes are inferior. If it weren't for the extremely high level and essence of that vitality, it would probably be difficult to persist until now. Rao is a person of 2 generations, and in his previous life, he was also a mouse in the Douluo culture. Seeing this scene at this moment, Nangong Lingyun couldn't help but give a thumbs up with both hands and exclaimed in admiration, "Bully! It's really amazing." The blue-silver emperor is indeed a soul beast, but it is also a plant seed that remains after sacrificing all its power. Plant a plant that has been severely damaged and urgently needs to recover a large amount of nutrients in a stone cave opened up in a rocky mountain range. Let it not touch the sky or the ground. The soil is just a small pile of soil. The sunlight must pass through the top of the head every day. When the light is parallel to the hole, only then can it barely shine on such a small beam, and time can only last for a short moment. Nangong Lingyun absolutely does not believe that a title Douluo would not even know how plants need to grow. A 3-year-old child will feel that you are insulting their intelligence. This may not be accurate, such a degree can barely maintain weak vitality, but it is impossible to accumulate enough nutrients and energy to revive. There is no way from heaven to earth, no way to survive, not even to die. This is not a place for rest and recuperation, it is clearly a meticulously crafted tight cage. As for the purpose, it's not difficult to guess, it's nothing more than hanging Yin's life to prevent the emergence of a new blue-silver emperor in the world, so that his son can grow up and inherit the throne. Shou. Tianxiu. The god of creation clock is beautiful. As a determined mouse, he couldn't help but feel a tingling scalp. Nangong Lingyun didn't complain about it for long, confirming that it was the next moment of the blue-silver emperor. He immediately used his spatial ability to transfer Yin and the 100,000-year-old right leg bone in the nearby dark grid to his own beast world. Then, it caused some water to flow and wash against the rocks it had stood on, destroying all possible traces. Controlling objects is also one of the fundamental abilities of soul-based martial souls, which is not difficult for him. Then the space transfer was launched again, appearing thousands of kilometers away from where it had just arrived. The entire process is as smooth as flowing clouds and water. Before leaving, I silently sighed in my heart. Ah, thank you for the gift from nature. After putting on his clothes and switching back to his original shoes, Nangong Lingyun suppressed his excitement and pretended to be calm as he continued to run. When he returned to the Holy Soul village, Tang Hao was still sleeping soundly, clearly not noticing anything wrong. However, he does not regret doing so much useless work. Even if it were to do it again, I would still be so cautious. Throughout the day, Nangong Lingyun behaved as usual, exercising, even helping old Jack dig the ground for a while. It wasn't until it was dark and I went to bed that I secretly entered the beast control space. Stealing Yin is only the first step, and more importantly, completing the beast control contract and making it a part of this space. Once the contract is successfully bound, that is, life and death are inseparable, hearts are connected, souls and lives are connected, and the mouse and the third son cannot be taken away by any means. The beast protection contract is not bound casually. One is to achieve soul power at levels 10, 20, 30, etc., and follow the same rules as obtaining soul rings. The second is that the target soul beast must be a voluntary contract or in an irreconcilable state. Thirdly, if the opponent's bloodline level exceeds the highest divine king level of the martial soul quality, and their soul strength exceeds 10 times the host's spiritual strength, contracts can only be made voluntarily, even in situations where one is unable to resist, such as serious injury, hibernation, feigning death, or being suppressed. Fortunately, these 3 silver bars are perfectly satisfied. The initial environment in the beast space is very simple: a piece of rocky land, a forest, a lake, a earthen mountain, and a river of fire formed by magma. Distributed in some extremely mysterious formation, the mutual breath induction is extremely harmonious, with a feeling of endless growth. Nangong Lingyun first transplanted the blue-silver emperor into the center of the forest, then, following the guidance of the system and one's own perception of the beast's martial soul, using spiritual power to condense and engrave a strange magic formation, surrounded by the location of the blue-silver emperor. In the next moment, a feeling of soul connection suddenly appeared, which was very strange, like a sudden addition of a hand and a leg to the body. Being able to clearly sense and control the other person to take various actions. At the same time, a gentle voice with thick suspicion also transmitted along that connection. This is Yin's soul awakened by stimulation. May I ask if you are? How gentle. Even when encountering the bizarre and terrifying thing of soul binding, one still uses honorific language. Such a gentle woman, with an extremely beautiful appearance, is what I deserve. Jie Jie. Nangong Lingyun's heart twitched slightly and then introduced. Hello, my name is Nangong Lingyun and I am a beast tamer. You have become my companion now. The so-called beast master refers to a special soul master who cultivates, summons, commands, and assists his beloved beasts in battles. They have an extremely special martial soul called the beast control space. This type of martial soul can significantly increase the growth rate of soul beast cultivation, as well as the recovery speed after being injured or consumed. It can also help it break through the upper limit of its bloodline, strengthen and optimize various abilities, and continuously evolve towards higher levels. You just need to sense a little and you can discover a lot of things. By the way, what's your name? Chapter 10. Crazy Harvest, Reward 18 million delicious points. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nangong Lingyun's words fell. After a moment of silence, Ah Yin's gentle voice came to mind again. Ayin, my name is Ayin. There are only a few short words, but the sense of suspicion contained in it is significantly weakened compared to before. Obviously, the brief introduction, combined with telepathy, had already calmed her down a bit. Listening to the obvious change in the voice, Nangong Lingyun's mouth suddenly curled up high, harder to press than AK's. Ayin is a classic submissive and dependent personality, characterized by gentleness, withdrawal, and passivity. Easy to submit to the demands of others, enjoy the feeling of being dominated, and do not know how to refuse, but he is extremely sensitive to criticism, and often chooses the former between wronging himself and potentially causing displeasure from others, silently enduring everything. Therefore, even if something is unwilling or unwanted, it is impossible to express opposition or dissatisfaction. Just now, after a brief struggle, she has decided, since the incident has already occurred, it's better to comply with Nangong Lingyun. Moreover, the environment here is indeed extremely suitable for one's own growth. I can clearly feel that the branches, leaves, and roots are consuming a large amount of energy. No, it is not accurate to say that they are being consumed, but rather that the outside world is actively instilling it in a frenzy, so much so that there was a feeling inside that couldn't bear it and was about to overflow, washing over both the body and soul, making them feel numb and trembling. It shouldn't be a bad thing to contract with him, right? Nangong Lingyun forcibly suppressed his inner excitement and tried to remain calm and normal, saying, Ayin, the growth bonus speed of the beast space varies at different stages and levels for soul beasts. I am currently at level 10 in soul power, which can provide an increase of about 100 times for soul beasts with a cultivation level of 100 years or less. 1,000-year soul beasts are 10 times more powerful, while soul beasts over 10,000 years need to wait until at least 11 levels to activate a slight increase. And your current lifespan is approximately 60 years. As a soul beast that has been reborn for 100,000 years, it is already growing at a rate 10 times faster than other soul beasts before its cultivation level is restored to its former state. That is to say, it will evolve into 100 years in about 14 days. You should work hard to cultivate yourself first, and then come and see you again. Well, okay, goodbye, master. Upon hearing the words, warm, soft, weak, and glutinous master, Nangong Lingyun suddenly felt a surge of excitement in his heart and quickly left the beast control space. If you stay any longer, the smile on your face will not be excited, but abnormal. Ayin has not yet transformed into a human form, and she is only 6 years old. At this time, she cannot truly become abnormal. After a moment, in my own room. Nangong Lingyun adjusted his mood well, opened the virtual screen, and began to list his gains. As soon as the system interface opens, a large amount of text flashes out. Number 1, you stole the blue silver Emperor Ayin and used soul binding to contract him as your first soul pet. Causing Tang San to lose his mother and Tang Hao to lose his wife, achieving a special plot achievement, a pit of losers, tragedy level. Top level and earn 1 million points of satisfaction. Achieve a special plot achievement, a pit of mice, with a disastrous level of top. Level and a satisfaction point of 2 million. Number 2, you stole the right leg bone of the 100,000-year-old blue silver emperor, causing Tang San to lose the right leg components of the future sea god suit and soul bone armor. Achieve special plot achievement, 2 pitfalls and 3 pitfalls, with a level of devastation. Top. Level, and earn 2 million points of satisfaction. The possibility of restoring the potential of Tang San's future blue-silver emperor has been greatly weakened, causing Tang San to lose the crucial soul bone skills in his tactical system. Flying and rebirth in the spring breeze. Achieve special plot achievement, 3 pitfalls and 3 pitfalls, with a level of devastation. Top. Level, and earn 5 million points of satisfaction. Number 3, you provided the blue-silver emperor with an extremely suitable living environment for her recovery, and gave her a 100-fold growth rate increase. The possibility of Ian re-ascending the throne is greatly increased, and the possibility of Tang San's martial soul awakening again to become the blue-silver emperor is greatly reduced. Achieve special plot achievement, 4 pitfalls and 3 pitfalls, with a level of devastation. Top. Level, and earn 5 million points of satisfaction. Note: after Ian has grown to 100,000 years and re-ascended the throne, this achievement will be settled again. Number 4, you swore sovereignty over the blue-silver emperor Ian and successfully received their response and confirmation. The special effects of your beast and beast martial soul have made Ian feel a huge shock. SS level beauty and special storyline character Ian has a strategy score of 30% and earns 600,000 points of satisfaction. Achieve special plot achievement, 2 pit mouse, with a level of devastation. Advanced, and obtain 400,000 plot points, Ian's current strategy. 30%. Number 5, you are the first pet beast in your Royal Beast Space Martial Soul contract, and a super soul beast with 3 major attributes, characteristics, of ultimate life, wood, and devouring is reborn as the blue-silver emperor. And obtain the first divine weapon. Blue-silver overlord spear. Strength has been enhanced, obtaining 2 million plot points. Note: when blue-silver grass grows into blue-silver emperor, some of its original life sources will evolve into ultimate life, but it is not pure. At this time, the blue-silver emperor possesses a small amount of ultimate life essence and a large amount of ordinary life attribute energy, making him a top. Level soul beast. But when he returned from his nirvana, although he lost most of his strength, he washed away all his glory and achieved pure ultimate life attributes, becoming a super soul beast. Accumulated satisfaction points: 18 million. Current total number of cool spots: 18 million. Looking at the text on the virtual screen, Nangong Lingyun felt his heart explode and suddenly jumped wildly. And a wave of hot blood crazily washes over the heavenly spirit cap. The impact made the whole person feel dizzy. An uncontrollable excitement roared from within. Cool. Refreshing and refreshing. Nyobi, truly worthy of the storyline of Shuang. The protagonist of Shuang, rat, your wife is really useful. Sanzi, such a great mother. Perhaps he should have acted a little more nonchalant at this moment, or pretended to be forced to say something in secret. Where did this go? Calm down, basic skills, no 6. But I really can't help it. You should know that the purchasing power of Shuangdian in the system is not low. Tang San's Xiantian treasure record, 3 million yuan, is completely enough to capture a 100,000-year-old soul bone or a 100,000-year-old soul ring, depending on their quality and soul skills, is about 1 or 2 million. What is the concept of 18 million? It is enough to summon or create a level 98 peerless Douluo to protect oneself, and if it is used to exchange for martial arts, those top. Level parts can also be considered. This is really a wave of fat. Nangong Lingyun rolled the quilt into a roll and tightly embraced the upper part with both arms, while the lower part was tightly gripped by his legs. Then close your eyes and feel the pounding heartbeat like a heavy hammer, quietly waiting for the excitement to gradually pass by.